Hello guys, in today's video we are back looking at our man dump truck, which we have converted into a flatbed, and we're basically going to add all the lights and finish off the model. The truck itself, it's not exactly built to take LEDs, but it does have a nice flat piece of plastic on the back that's separated into 3 segments, and that's pretty ideal for mounting 1.8mm LEDs, which is what I usually use for things like this. And what we're going to have there is a reverse light, tail lights and an indicator. So you can see here we've 8 LEDs in total. The 2 in the middle are going to be the tail lights, and they'll be connected together. That's the orange wire, so you can see that it's connecting all 4 of those LEDs together. The white wire then is for the reversing lights, and it's connected both left and right, so it's a single wire coming for that signal as well. And then we have 2 yellow wires, one going to the left and one going to the right indicator, so it's going to be individual signals for those 2 lights. And that leaves us with 5 wires total, the 4 signals and the ground. We're able to test it at this point. I usually just use a 3.7 volt battery and a 470 ohm resistor. The first one here is our reversing lights, so we'll tie that into the movement of the motors. So when the motors are reversing, that LED will come on. Then we have our tail lights. We'll probably try to PWM them so that they're full on when we stop and they dim when we're driving. There's our left indicator. The model's upside down. There's the right indicator, and that's them all working perfectly. There's plenty of space at the back of the model, so I added in the resistor for the brake lights and the reversing lights. So for the tail lights, that's a 240 ohm resistor, which means it's drawn about 8 milliamps, and also on the reversing lights it's 240 ohms, but because there's only 2 LEDs, it's only drawn 4.7 milliamps. And then I just added a bit of heat shrink to tidy it up, and that's the lights in the back pretty much done. We can't add the resistors for the indicators because we need to tie them to the front indicators. Okay, so if we move on to the front of the model, the first thing we need to do is take the cab apart. So you can see the plastic section in the middle there. You need to push that through because that's locking the plastic section with the seats and the dashboard and everything into the die-cast cab itself. So that should push out, and then there's a couple of clips on the back of the model which you need to push through, and then you should be able to pull the plastic section out down through the bottom of the model. That then exposes the beacons at the top. So what I did was drill a couple of 1.8mm holes, just shallow enough that the top of the LED fits into it, and then I glued the LEDs in position. You can also see there that I added the resistor at this point and glued it into the top of the cab, just because there's plenty of space up there as well. And the last thing I did was paint around the bottoms of the LEDs with thick black paint. I think I put 2 coats on this just to try and stop the white light from the LED illuminating the interior of the cab every time the beacon flashed. The headlights on this model have little lenses that are melted in through little holes, which are around about the 1.8mm that we need for the LEDs. So basically I just cut them out and cut the little stalk piece off and then glued the lens back in, and that meant that I could then push the LED through the hole in the back. That worked really well for me this time, but just be careful when you use super glue on something like a lens. If you put too much super glue on the joint, it's going to cloud up the lens, so just very sparingly place it in the corner. That's what I did. So there's 3 LEDs on each side, one for the indicator, one for the headlight and one for the fog light. So what I did was solder the grounds together just to give the 3 LEDs a little bit of strength together. And then when I was happy with the position, I hot glued the back of the LEDs, obviously with the wires added. And once the LEDs were secure, then I could connect all the wires. So the blue wire you can see, that's the ground again, that's connecting to everything, the beacons, all the LEDs in the front. We have the white wire then, which is for the fog lights, and you can see that crosses the left and the right, both LEDs connected together. So a single white wire goes back to the microcontroller. It's the same for the headlights, which is the purple wire, and then there's an individual wire for each indicator, which is the yellow wire. So there's 2 yellow wires going back. That's a total of 7 wires going back to the microcontroller. 2 for the beacons, 2 for the indicators, 1 for the headlights, 1 for the spotlights, and 1 ground. And that's pretty much it. I just put the cab back on the chassis. I would have joined the wires for the front and rear left indicator, and then joined the wires for the front and rear right indicator. I would have added a resistor to each of those. I would have also added resistors to the headlights and the fog lights, and then just joined them to the version 1 control board, which we had installed in episode 2 or 3 of this. I'm not just quite sure which it was, but that's pretty straightforward. So let's just go straight to testing. I did this in the dark just to try and show the lights a little bit better. So there's the headlights on at the minute. That would be the dipped headlights. There's the full beams, so that's just a PWM change on that LED. There's the fog lights on the bottom. That's the lights off now, and that's the left indicator, right indicator. You can see the beacons flashing away there the whole time. So this was, I tried to put on the hazards but I missed, so here's the hazards now. And that's pretty much all the control that we have over the front lights. So now we'll take a look at the rear lights. So first of all, when you turn on the headlights, you get the tail lights as well. And when we're reversing, we see the reversing lights. The tail lights are actually dimming as we're reversing there, but it's hard to see with the reversing lights. So as we move forward here, you can see them dimming. So the idea there was to try and imitate brake lights. And here we have our left indicator and our right indicator, and this should be our hazard lights. So as you can see, all pretty clear on the rear, and they actually are really good lights for a change, and it's all because of that good board that we've seen at the base of the chassis there. So because that foundation was so good, the lights have turned out pretty good. And with that, the truck is basically finished. So what I did was record a video where the truck, well, you've seen the first part of it where we were loading up the 3D printed things, but there's some footage of the truck driving in with the trailer there. So I'll be uploading that probably next week just to show the truck maneuvering. Although I realized afterwards that I had the left and right drive motors reversed. So what that meant was, instead of the inside wheel going slower when you were turning, it was actually going faster. So my software differential was actually fighting the turning of the vehicle. So I corrected that, and I've recorded another video to try and demonstrate the maneuverability of the truck with the proper software differential. So that one will be going up afterwards. I haven't edited that one yet, but maybe you'll get an understanding of the difference that makes, because well, one video was with it completely wrong and one of them is with it right. So hopefully that'll make it a little bit clearer on the difference. So I think that's all for today. If you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe and get the bell on, and if you like the video, don't forget to hit the like button. And that's it, so thanks very much for watching.